Everybody, welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. I'm here, as always, with Andrew Vontz from the Choose the Hard Way podcast, Always the Hard Way newsletter. And we have, as is tradition, Jonathan Kaplan from the Riding With newsletter to help us do another Grand Tour preview. But Jonathan, why is this Grand Tour preview special? Why? I think I bungled that. It's the Tour de France 2026. This is a major race coming up, folks. The biggest race of the year. 21 stages through France. If you think all of France, no, it's not really all of France. They kind of just drew a line to the middle of France, and they are going to one section, the southeast section of France, where many good riding courses are. But how are you doing, Andrew? How are you doing, Jonathan? We'll start with you, Andrew. You go first.
Oh, I want to talk to Jonathan Kaplan. Jonathan, I'd love to hear how you're doing. And
How are we doing?
Do you own a knife that's large enough to put a 264-foot gash in the reflecting pool? I think that's kind of the big question.
So I think you've seen the story about the cyclist who was arrested. He was a former Olympian.
You know this guy, right?
That guy's 67 years old. He's a very strong rider. I think I said this. He's probably not as strong as Dan Swenson, but like close.
All right. So as a communications professional, what Jonathan is doing is diverting. He didn't answer my question, and he's instead talking about someone else. So Jonathan, again, the question is, do you own any kind of knife that could cut through 264 feet of paint in the reflecting pool? And how much algae do you have in your home?
There is algae on the roof because I think, we now live in a swamp. That was a myth that DC was never a swamp. It's not, but climate change and all that. So I do not own any real weapons, especially a big knife.
Is
now,
that
if you
true?
watch Jonathan's eye movements, if you're watching this on YouTube, they indicate that he may be lying. All right.
Well, I'm looking at the algae on the neighbor's rooftop over here. So.
Right. Spencer, how are you doing? It must be around 115 degrees Fahrenheit in your WeWork.
Well, okay, I got it. It is. I'm in London right now. It is very hot. We may have reached Tour of Kansas City levels of heat. 102 degrees today on my ride. Did I go riding at 1 p.m.? Yes, I did. Did I complain about the heat? Yes, I did. It's. I would say it's hot. We had the hottest day ever recorded in London in June. But my wife and I, we went out. We had dinner outside last night, and it was like kind of chilly. I'm like, that's not happening in Lawrence. There's no scenario where you're leaving the house to eat outside. Did go to a West End show in an unair conditioned theater. That was quite the experience. I was telling Jonathan, our inside thermostat, we're bumping up to close to 39 degrees Celsius inside the home. That is over 100 degrees in the house, and that is the crux of the issue in this country. The outside temps can be a little toasty. Stay out of the sun, though. You're fine. The problem is the inside spaces are so hot. They don't cool down. I would say the WeWork I'm in, it is air conditioned, though. So I don't tell the family that. I just come here and I'm like, oh, yeah, hard day at work. The WeWork, pretty tough in there with the free coffee and the AC. And they don't know that I'm getting a cool down. But I mean, are we worried about this? So London is hot, but like manageable hot, I'd say. France is 10 degrees Celsius hotter. So that's, if it's say 95 in London, I think Paris might have been one of the hottest places on earth the other day, like 107 degrees. Is the tour going to happen? What is the plan here if this heat bubble doesn't go away? Does anyone know?
They had the year where there was the olive oil slick on the road. They may just be riding in tar this year.
Or it's a swimming event.
Yeah.
It's a swimming event.
I like that. Yeah, they don't tell. I always had a pet theory that I would like if you didn't know the course until you showed up to the race, and then they gave it to you like the morning of, and you're like, whoa, like time trial today. Holy smokes. But Andrew, before I go through this course, how are you doing?
Yeah. First of all, if you're not following me, follow me at HardwayPod on Instagram. That's where I'm giving updates about sometimes my thoughts on professional bike racing and about my cancer experience. I'm also at alwaysthehardway.substack.com or search for Choose the Hard Way on Substack, and still podcasting. I've got some cool stuff coming out. Another episode with Steven Seiler soon. I'm alive, I'm breathing. It's a great day to be a human being. I know that we're gonna talk about our thoughts around some of the probabilities of who might win the Tour de France. As I continue to navigate through the medical system as a medicalized person, I'm starting my 3rd type of chemo treatment on Monday, so it's chemo 3, Fury Road. I know that this is gonna be the one that works, and also I've just been talking to a lot of the world's leading experts on my disease who are optimistic about this new course of treatment, and equally, they, like, get into a lot of probabilities that, guys, I don't find to be particularly helpful. So, what I do now when a physician or an expert in my disease starts getting into probability math, what I like to say is, well, because there's often some kind of they tell you something and then there's like, and there's not 100%, guaranteed, blah, blah, blah. I can tell you the only 100% guarantee is that we are all going to die. Like, that's definitely going to happen. And I am not going to die from this cancer. We're going to get through it. I'm going to get to cured. And I do believe that the attitude and not just level of belief, but level of knowing of the people involved in your care is extremely important. And it's also important to have a community around you who also knows that you're going to get to cured. So everybody who's reached out with positive support, I really appreciate it. Please keep it coming. And as a person experiencing this, there are moments when I'm hysterical and break down. This has been pretty intense. And equally, I know that there are many more Tour de France's ahead, including one in real life for all of us together on the ground. So that's where I'm at. And I think the first question that I have for the group today is for some of the riders who are going to be at the Tour but don't have a chance of winning, should they just cat down and do the age group version?
You've now crossed the Rubicon where we have people paid full time to train on bikes, racing age group events. I don't want to name names, but it's gone too far. You can't. You just got to take your lumps in the pros.
If I wasn't occupied with other things right now, I might start a meme account just dedicated to this topic. I feel like you could make a deterministic flow chart of where athletes go over time, professional athletes, as you said, people being compensated. These are not people MacGyvering this with bubble gum and scotch tape to get to the
'Cause
races.
there are people that were full-time pros that now just that life is behind them. They live
Yes.
the life of a workaday Joe. This is not what we're talking about. Just
Yeah, it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people whose profession, the thing they're paid for, just like you listening, whatever you do for work, whatever paycheck you get that's primarily supporting your life, that's what these people do. And I would say that step 2 is probably going into age group competition. Step 1 is a nebulous social media post about putting the plug in the jug. That's where you have to start. You have to talk about how something related to your nebulous sobriety, not specifying whether you. This is a very serious topic, and I'm not making light of people who have issues with drugs and alcohol. It's addiction is horrible. I've seen it among friends I've had over the years, and it's a very serious thing. And also, we all know that on social media, there are a lot of people who do not truly, nor have they ever had drug and alcohol problems, who understand that one of the most viral attention getting things you can do is to make a nebulous post about how you've stopped X at some point in time that you've never talked about publicly, but you're going to talk about it now. And that's step 1.
because these
Step
things these do numbers.
Yeah, they do
It
big
works.
numbers.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not conflating people who have true addiction issues and are celebrating whatever their sobriety anniversary or the number of days. This is a different.
Shout out Steve-O.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a different type of beast. The second step is you start competing in, number one, you go into gravel. If you were in a different discipline, you move to gravel. But you say that you're actually just doing it for fun or because you enjoy craft beer or so whatever, you want the vibe. But you train like a professional athlete. And in the beginning, you show up and you absolutely kick everyone's ass. You destroy everyone. And then you start to get a little bit older, or younger, newer people show up on the scene. Other people are willing to do those 50, 60-hour blocks. Kip, I'm looking at you. And from there, what do? You go in one of two directions. So this is where there's a bifurcation. You either go to sprint distance events. You might drop down from the 200 to the 100. You might go from the 100 to the 50. You might go from the 50 to the 25, as we actually had planned to do, but didn't get to execute this year. You might go to the 25 and bring World Tour Domestiques with you to try to win that sprint distance event. The other direction you go, because once you lose speed, so speed and power diminish over time, you then go ultra. You say, I'm no longer competing. I'm more of an ambassador, but I'm going to do the 300 to 350 mile event, because you're still thinking, I can kick everyone's ass in this race. I'm a way better athlete than them. Then you show up in that. Hopefully you pick up a W. If you don't, now it's bike packing, or you're doing like 1,000-mile race, whatever the one is that goes all the way across Europe. Maybe you're doing the Atlas Mountain Race, and then eventually you do something else. So that's the teleology of what happens over time, in my view.
Andrew's really thought about this. It's kind of like when your kids race you and you beat them, and they're like, "No, the finish line's up there, up there, up there." Like the finish line just keeps moving. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. The final thing I'll say on this topic, I saw that someone, I think I know who this individual is, and I think I've known them for 35 years. Someone put a comment on one of the episodes I have about getting second place at Unbound.
Twice.
Twice.
It
was a rather mean-spirited comment. That's fine. You didn't get second place. If you did, you could talk about it. Something I've realized over time is that the second time I did it, I was beaten by an 18-year-old who was racing on one of the first elite gravel teams that existed. And what that means is I did get second overall in the Dirty Kansas 100 in 2015. I definitely won my age group, because I would have been 39 that year. So I won my age group. I've never said it out loud, but I won my age group.
You should do a social post about this. I've never.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Definitely.
It's actually a very hard race. This person was being very mean to Andrew, but it's very hard to get second place at the 100, the DK 100.
Well, I got first in my age group.
First in age group.
Yeah, thank you.
And at the top of the age group, right? Because doesn't go from 35 to 39.
Oh, good point.
It could have been a 30 to 39. I know there are some 30 plus Nats categories, right? Which is basically 30.
Well,
you're definitely a professional athlete.
Something everyone came here. I'm sure we have many listeners that this is the only episode they listen to, and they're locked into this, but they need to hear this story. There used to be, in the olden days, a 30 to 35 national championships. Why? No one has any idea. Eric Marcotte wins that.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Years later, he wins the professional race.
My God.
So take that little piece of trivia around with you. Put that in your back pocket. But Tour de France.
Yes.
Let's do this in quiz format. I'm going to ask you guys about the race, and you tell me what you're going to guess the type of course. So we talked about it in Jonathan's show. A little tease for that. They call that a tease in the industry. Stage 1, team time trial, Barcelona. Why Barcelona? Because ASO is getting a bunch of money to go to Barcelona, and they're saying thank you. And very convenient. ASO puts on the race. It's very convenient because you can ride from Catalonia to France, so you don't have to take like a weird early rest day. 19K long team time trial. It's not your dad's team time trial, though. This is a little different than you remember, because they take the time from the individual rider, which is going to set up a lot of fascinating battles. Teammate against teammate. I think they said about the Civil War. Same thing with the opening stage of the Tour de France. And you're going to have, you have Red Bull, Remco Racing, Florian Lipowitz. It's actually, I think it's a fantastic twist on the team time trial that ASO has been testing at Paris-Nice the last couple of years. They did it at the Dauphiné a couple of weeks ago. After that, then we have 2 more stages in Spain. This is a wild open. Like the first mountain stage of this race is stage 3, summit finish. Not like the hardest summit finish, but we're going to have GC gaps, 7% grade average for the summit finish. And then we go straight into the Pyrenees. We do the Pyrenees, some transition stages, and then we go the Vosges Mountain stage 14, and then Jura Mountain stage 15, and then straight into the Alps for the final week. There is 1 individual time trial on stage 16, 26K long. That's going to be very important. And then we finish in Paris with a slightly altered version of the incredible circuit we saw last year that adds, it's not just the processional sprint stage. There will be climbs. There will be great racing. Unfortunately, Wout van Aert will not win it because he's not starting because he almost died from sepsis. I think, though, he just saw the forecast and said, I need to get out of doing this race. I'm going to go on vacation. The hardest stage is stage 15. Second hardest stage is stage 20 to Alpe d'Huez. Third hardest stage is stage 19 to Alpe d'Huez. We do Alpe d'Huez back to back. Holy smokes. On stage 19 and stage 20. Do you guys want to guess how many mountain stages are in this Tour de France of the 21 stages?
13.
John, that would be wild. Jonathan?
I was going to say 8.
8 is correct. And we have 8 summit finishes. So this has been a trend recently where every mountain stage is a summit finish. You could argue it's better for safety. Some people argue it's better for spectacle. But do you remember this, Andrew and Jonathan, where Carlos Rodriguez beat Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogačar because they went into Morzine, which was a descent finish,
yes,
over a very hard climb. I'm blanking on the name. And that was a thrilling stage. So you kind of miss outcomes like that. We're probably just going to see the guy who wins the overall is going to win all these summit finishes. It's like, it gets a little boring after a while. We have 6 flattish stages.
Sorry, Spencer, can I ask you a quick question about that? So you're more on the inside of the World Tour than anyone I know. With these summit finishes, we know that in the past, there were certain Tour de France winners who would have a private helicopter to take them down. And not everyone knows this. If you're only tuning in for the Tour de France episode, you may not know. And also, please check out the Tour de France for Dummies on Jonathan's podcast, Riding with JK. The summit finishes mean that these riders have to then ride back down the mountain, which is adding additional, or I guess it's detracting from their recovery time, and it is adding some element of danger because there are a lot of spectators on those mountains. Spencer, do you know if any current Tour contenders, and specifically I'm talking about Pog and Jonas, are they getting helicoptered off the mountain, or is ASO banned this?
That's a great question. Great question. This is not deflecting. I'll come back to that answer, but I am consulting with the World Tour team. I don't know if I don't feel comfortable saying the name. Let me check with them. We'll come back to that in a few weeks.
Yep.
But had a meeting with them after the summit finish of one of the mountain stages at the Giro, and the meeting was at like 1 a.m. because that's when they got back to the hotel from the summit finish. Like the team with the bus with the riders in it. So if you go to one of these summit finishes or you're a journalist, it's always a pain in the butt. It just takes you. Like I remember the cycling podcast guys, they went to Isla 2000 and I didn't go. And I remember they got back to Nice at like 2 or 3 a.m. because it just takes so long to get off the mountain. But the teams are not immune to that. They're stuck in the same traffic. These summit finishes are a mess. I think ASO, they do not like if you're Pogačar, you can't just book your own helicopter and get taken off. I think sometimes they let the overall podium heli off the mountain. Like I remember it might have been like Wiggins saying that he got 4th at a tour and the top 3 got to helicopter to preview like the next day's time trial and helicopter back to the hotel, and he had to drive because he wasn't in the top 3. But they definitely, I don't think they let you book your own helicopter and fly out because you would just have like a mess of helicopters coming in. But I don't know. They might be going away from that, Andrew. You don't hear about it as much anymore. And they might I think Pogačar might be sitting in traffic with everybody else. And if you're in a leader's jersey, you might not be on the team bus because sometimes they do what you're saying where they descend off and the buses are elsewhere and you can get out of there faster. Sometimes it's not a possibility and the buses are up there and you just have to like sit in the bus for hours. I mean, the bus is comfortable, but that is hard. Can you imagine getting back in this stage I'm talking about? They got back to they probably got to sleep at 1 or 2, and then they started the stage local time at 10 a.m. the next day. So those riders are up at, I don't know, 7, eating breakfast. Like it's not as much sleep time as you would imagine.
There
A
you
10
go.
o'clock start time is super early.
Super early. That's not normal.
But 8 summit finishes mean you're going to have diminished recovery time. You're going to have higher stress off the bike. And the buses are nice, but I mean, we're basically talking about whatever you experience going to your high school cross country meet, or, they're just like sitting on a bus.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just, stars. They're just like us. They do have showers in there because you were talking about, and in Jonathan's, on his podcast, that you can have like hygiene concerns and you can get sores and things if you don't get out of your kit and shower. So they can get clean. It's not ideal. 6-ish, flat-ish stages where a sprinter could win that I've circled. 5 hilly stages with 1 uphill finish, and then the 2 time trials, 1 team, 1 individual, both kind of individual though, because you can finish alone and get your time taken. 56,000 vertical meters of climbing, 3,300 kilometers distance-wise, but 56,000 vertical meters of climbing. That's a lot.
Pretty good.
For like, I think for comparison, the most recent Giro had around 44,000, I think. So it's significantly more climbing than the Giro that just happened. And so that, in only 1 stage over 200 kilometers in length, which is important because I call it it's the boring index. But generally, the more stages over 200K, it's not just like, long distance creates good racing. In fact, it's inverted. So that's fantastic that we only have 1 of those stages. But go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to ask about stage 13 because that is the longest stage. But is there sort of what you've looked at, a sleeper stage that might be surprising where you can get crosswinds, gravel?
First, let's do like the blockbuster stages, and then let's come back to sleeper. AKA, give me a little bit more time to stare at this map and think about that. But is there a stage you're looking forward to, Jonathan? What about the double Alpe d'Huez?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down 1 and 16 just because they're both the team time trial, the individual time trial. We're down stage 13. Maybe it's boring, but it's very long. And let me just preface all this by saying that, you're going to have 184 riders plus the weather. So I think the weather, I saw, I looked on, weather.com. It's supposed to break on Sunday or Monday. It's going to be cooler next week. But you have to think that every Tour de France since 2022 has been done in a heat wave for all or part of it.
Definitely for part of it. I would say 2024.
That was brutal.
I don't know, man. I thought it was kind of cold in sometimes it's not on TV. I think they had a few hot stages, and I remember like Dijon was really hot, but there was stages where it was like legit cold. Like I remember being freezing cold at the race. And so like it was hot, especially they finished in Nice. So you get like hot days at the end. And there was a couple days in the Massif Central where it was hot, but you don't often like consider like they could be in a heat bubble, but they could also be in borderline snowy conditions at times. That's I guess the beauty of France. You never know what you're going to get.
Spencer, to go a bit away from the course for a moment, something that's disturbing me, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it to you guys. We don't have the full rosters for many of the teams.
I know.
Am I correct that Nairo Quintana will not be at the Tour de France?
It's a little strange, isn't it? Because he just did the Tour of Switzerland, which is generally a Tour de France preparation race.
Yeah. And
well, Movistar only has 4 riders on their start list, so there technically would be room to add him.
There would be room to add him. I'm just curious.
What's the alternative for them?
Maybe he's going to go to gravel.
I don't know if he would do well in gravel.
I don't know if you have the right parkour. I'm not sure why he wouldn't excel. Yeah. This is getting in the weeds, maybe at a moment you don't want to, Spencer. I don't know if this is going to abide by the quiz show format here. I'm not going to say the first name right. I'm just going to say Sean Udebrooks. Remember when he threw a fit to leave his
Yeah.
team to go to Movistar? Let's talk about that a little bit. How's that working out for him?
Yeah, this is a great callback. It's amazing. This is an amazing story. I will say he got 7th at the fake Dauphiné, or
Yeah.
what the artist formerly known as the Dauphiné Libéré. He got 7th at, and he's actually looked pretty good this year at Movistar. 23 years old, 23-year-old Belgium. If you just looked at his results from this year, you knew nothing about him. You'd say, "Wow, up and coming rider." Well, let's go to story time about Udebrooks. Kine Udebrooks, 2023 Volta España. So he would have been in teenager or just turned 20. He's on Red Bull, then known as Bora. He gets in a fight with his teammate. Eighth as a teenager at the Vuelta is insane. That's insanely good. Prodigy level. He is fighting with Alexander Vinokurov for 7th place, and the team does not align behind him for 7th. They allow Vlasov to race against him to get 7th for himself. Vlasov is a veteran rider who needs a contract, like that's an important 7th place for him. I've never heard of a team aligning behind a rider in assigning a leader for bottom half of the top 10. And he's so upset by this, he leaves mid-contract without, doesn't mention anything to Bora. And then there's just a tweet, I believe, of that he's gone to Movistar. He's just gone. And then I don't think he works for the team anymore, but I always liked his quotes. Ralph Aldag was like, "Yeah, I was really happy to get rid of that guy." So you would imagine that sensations were not good inside the team. And then I think, he had a few years of eating a lot of humble pie, but he's actually, I would say, Udebrooks. I've liked what I've seen from him so far. I know that he's had he won the Tour de l'Avenir in 2022. If that's the mini junior Tour de France. If you win that race, it didn't used to always be this way because of many factors, some we won't talk about. But in the past few years, if you win that race, you go on to become a big star. And I don't know. I think he's coming along nicely, but I'm still in shock of what was the expectation there, that the team would say, "We'll help you get 7th. I won't race against you, even though we're racing for places outside the top 5." Never heard of that before.
I mean, just look at the Visma playbook. You have to attack the person trying to win the race at the Vuelta. That's
Well, I
the
think that was
traditional
the
move.
same Vuelta too.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was just,
that's
it
the
was in
gold
the,
standard.
and then also, just while we're in the weeds, I thought about you because Visma released their start list. They have a really important rider missing, Wout van Aert, who would be key. He's been key to Jonas Vingegaard's 2 Tour de France titles, always key for the team as a domestique and a stage winner. That's very rare, by the way. I feel like we kind of gloss over that. It's oh yeah, he's going to win stages. In a given year, there might be 40 riders that win a Grand Tour stage total. So to beat one of those 40 is really hard, especially when you consider a lot of those are Pogačar or Vingegaard. These are the best of the best. So if you're winning stages and helping the team, that's already super rare. They've replaced him, Andrew, with this still really strange decision to me. Davide Piganzoli, who was on Polti Visit Malta last year. This is a breakaway fodder guy. He's now on Visma and 23. And if his name sounds familiar, it's because he just did the Giro d'Italia and did very well. But that means they have Victor Campenaerts, Sepp Kuss, Jonas Vingegaard, and Piganzoli. 4 of their 8 riders are doubling up with the Tour Giro. And I know you were worried about the fatigue from this. Half of their team now has this fatigue. That's a little odd, don't you think?
They've got the Giro flu.
The Giro flu. I mean, they are they must have data that's telling them the Giro is actually good preparation for the Tour, and this will not affect them. But I've never seen this before. In a leading team doubling up Giro Tour with their 4 most important riders. And I heard a stat that they had the least amount of starters, individual starters, in all Grand Tours last year. So it is a trend that they're doing.
Yeah, something that strikes me looking at the Visma roster, particularly Campenaerts, I was thinking about who is not directly, but somewhat analogous to Campenaerts on another super team. Slightly different because the rider I'm about to name is a super domestique, similar to Campenaerts. And they're an absolute killer with stage winning ability, which we saw repeatedly at the Giro. I'm talking about Jonathan Narvaez. And I think this speaks to the depth of the UAE bench and perhaps to the shallower depth of the Visma team that Camponertz is back, he's the most trusted lieutenant of Jonas, equally a little bit tired at this point, I have to think. So advantage UAE.
Well, do we know that is so the UAE only has 7 riders on their start list. I guess it's possible Narvaez could come in, but we don't know yet. And then he would be doubling up. But
Right.
you're right that he's a really rare rider that he could win. What did he win? 3
He's
stages?
like, he's Wout-like, actually. He's pretty analogous to Wout.
Miniature, lower profile Wout.
Yes.
Basically, like I think today's a good day to get in the breakaway and drop everybody. And like I saw one of his wins at the Giro for the stage, he averaged like 350 watts. And he's not a big guy, he's probably 66 kilos. Averaged for the entire stage. Like that's crazy, folks. I just saw Luke Plapp right before we got on here. He was on his podcast and he said to follow Pogačar at Tour Switzerland, he would have had to average 500 watts for 25 minutes. And Luke Plapp's not that big. And his co-host, who's an Aussie Rules football player, he's like a big guy, like Andrew size maybe. He would have had to average 770 watts for 25 minutes to match Pogačar, just to show you like the numbers that some of these guys are putting out. But Jonathan, I would say the big marquee stages, you're going to hear a lot about this double Alpe d'Huez. The first Alpe d'Huez on stage 19 is the traditional Alpe d'Huez that 14K long, 8% with the switchbacks. Stage 20 is a little different. It goes up a different side of it. And this is something, as an American, I found it hard to conceptualize before I went to these mountains. Like, what do you mean different sides? Like in the U.S.,
that's what I just thought. What do you mean different sides?
It's like they just kind of have like a road that goes up and goes down, But in Europe, it'd be like there's like 7 different ascents you can take to each of these different climbs. Probably just because for so many years people were going to the top of these mountains, so there's multiple approaches to get to the top. So it's a different approach, and then they kind of like come in through the back roads and then finish at the resort, coming from the back. So it's not going to be the exact same road over and over again. Probably logistically quite a bit easier for the organization. It's actually quite clever from ASO to do this because people are going to be like, oh, wow, double Alpe d'Huez. And no one's going to think, wait a second. They don't have to reset up the start finish or the finish line. This is pretty clever. But I'd say the stage I'm like looking forward to stage 1. Stage 3, these early stages are going to have a lot of action, like maybe too much action. We might know too much about this race by the end of it. The first, I think, stage 6, it's not a really tough summit finish, but they go over the Tourmalet, descend to Tourmalet, and then they have it's like an 18K long, 4% grade climb. That's just going to be an unusual racing situation. They do Col d'Aspin, which is a big climb, Tourmalet, which is huge, descend, Cat 2 climb to the finish on stage 6. So that's going to be super interesting. And then I think this is just because I like the region, but stage 14 to Le Markstein, I think it's a hard climb. I got in an argument with Johan Bernil, who said it's not a hard climb, but it's 11K long at 7.5%. That's pretty hard. And then they don't finish at the very top. They kind of go along a plateau to a ski station, but it's an unusual day because it's not the Alps. It's a different mountain range in France, but it's like 10K at 7%. The climbs they're lower altitude, so you can put out bigger power, but that doesn't necessarily make it easier because the racing can be so hard. And they do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 climbs that day with the summit finish. And it can almost be like higher octane racing because they're lower altitude climbs that aren't as long, even though they would take us a long time. They're not going to take these guys a long time. So I think that could be a super interesting stage. And it's going into the Alps, And then stage 15, we should say, we saw that summit finish at the Dauphiné. That's a really hard summit finish. And that's even before we get to the hard stages of the third week.
Spencer, interestingly, when you were talking about Alpe d'Huez having multiple routes up, which I'm geographically ignorant about this mountain.
You'll never understand this until you see it. It's like breaks your brain.
Yeah, I get it. The first thing I thought about the Eisenhower Tunnel and Loveland Pass, and then I began to wonder, are there multiple alternate roads over Loveland Pass? Because everything has to come back to the Front Range.
I don't
And
think so. I mean, that's a
the
good
answer
example of
the answer is no. There's one road up and over. It's
which is
US
why
Highway
it's
6, I just learned.
so much traffic
Yeah.
going up there. But Jonathan, do you have any dark horse stages?
No, that's why I was asking you. I was looking at the map this
There will
morning.
be some. I mean, some stage will have crosswinds. Like if you look at, like usually like the stage into Bordeaux, you're like right there. It's like I'm immediately suspicious. Stage 7, like, well, what's going to happen there? That could be like that. They could. Bordeaux is always a wild card because it's close to the coast, like close to the Atlantic coast, and flat, but also hot, and could be crosswinds. Could be a sprint. We don't know.
Is Arkea still a team?
Arkea is not a team,
Okay.
right?
Because I
Isn't
saw that we have Caja Rural, and Spencer, I know that
Right.
you talked on our episode on riding with the Tour de France for beginners or dummies, however you want to characterize it.
Beginners.
Yeah, the ASO/Spain growing connection with Spain. I'm wondering, is that why we're seeing Caja Rural in the race, or they?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably exactly why, because they're trying to. Caja Rural is a big bank, I think, in Spain. Also a longstanding team. The team's pretty good. They had 2 options because they can only invite top 30 teams. So you have to finish inside the top 30 the year prior to be eligible to be invited to a Grand Tour.
Yeah.
But, like there's 18 World Tour teams. So right there, those are invited. There's 3 of the second division teams that get auto invites. So right there, you get a lot eaten up. So I think you only get 2 wild card teams, which would have been Total Energies. And then they get 1 more. And it was between Caja Rural and the Rose Rockets. And they picked Caja Rural, probably because there is some sort of connected marketing venture between the Vuelta, their Spanish product, and the Tour. But they're a good team. Like
They're good.
I could kind of see it, but obviously would have been exciting to see. That ASO doesn't like the Rockets either. I mean, I don't know if we should talk about this, but
let's talk about it, because the Rockets famously, I'm not super conversant in the YouTubers behind the team. I do know that one of the things that put them on the map was going to the Tour and delivering pizzas to teams and then talking to the teams. And I don't know, this was during the pandemic, maybe not. Maybe you couldn't deliver pizzas then.
I think it was like there was some weird ticky-tack rule that was like, you're using our event for content and we haven't given you permission to do it.
Well, there you go. This is how revenge works, right?
Well, and if you're a conspiracy theorist, not really a conspiracy theorist, if you just had thinking ability, you would say the Rockets kind of represent a threat to ASO. I love ASO, big fan of ASO, big love to my guys at ASO and gals. Couldn't love you more. But I think it is kind of a threat to them, because I'm not saying they're threatened by them. I'm just saying they should be, because the Rockets are like, that's not a company. That's just a franchise name. It's a name of a team. It's smart what they've done. Like, they're the Rockets. They might have a sponsor. It might be Unibet. It might be Rose, the bike brand, but it's still the Rockets. And they have this uniform identity, and they're making money through their own content they're creating around the team. They probably are not financing. They're not financing a large, well-funded team currently, but it actually does start to cause problems if teams can become basically independently wealthy with their own flywheels of revenue. And then ASO becomes less powerful. And I don't think they love the situation that's going on there. So I don't think they're trying to go out of their way to help them.
Yeah, it's one of Robert Greene's 48 laws of power. Never outshine the master. There you go.
Is that true?
Yeah,
that's kind of exactly what's going on here. Yeah,
it's pretty axiomatic. When you do that, you have a problem generally.
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, it's interesting you brought this up, because when I surveyed people asking questions, what questions you want answered for a Tour de France beginners podcast, that was one of the questions. Why aren't the Unibet Rockets included? From a more experienced cyclist.
There's your answer right there.
Answer.
Basically, it comes down to the above board answer would be they weren't selected. because it came down to 2 teams and they had to pick one and they picked the other one. If I was ASO and I was, Andrew was my communications guy, we'd craft some, Cahu Rawl has 40 years of experience and have a proud history at the Tour de France, and we wanted to recognize that. And they currently have a great team. They used to remember they had Tyler Stites, the American rider, and he left to go to Modern Adventures. But it's like, man, if he stays, is he going to the Tour de France? Right? And like Seb Berwick, who got flicked from Jonathan's favorite team, Israel Premier Tech, he gets flicked. He's looking for a team. No one wants to sign him. He ends up at Cahu Rawl. Now he's probably going to be at the Tour de France.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. But what are you, Andrew, what are you most looking forward to at this Tour de France?
I'm most looking forward to Big Rich Paul's success, winning the Tour. I think that's probably the most exciting thing about this. And all the reasons that people specify for why he can't do it, his age, his lack of experience, the pressure, it will have never happened until someone does it, and this will be the time. That's what's so exciting about disruption.
And we haven't heard much from him, been quiet on the hand front, the wrist front, but
Wristgate.
Let's say the wrist is great. Let's say he's super healthy. He's probably not going out of his way to tell anybody, right? Because he's got the perfect cover with this crash.
Perfect cover.
Yeah. And then you can point to it if you poop the bed. You say, "Oh yeah, I crashed at the Dauphiné." What'd you expect?
Yeah. In fact, while the wrist injury this proximate to the Tour is not great, it's cost him some recovery time. I don't think it really did anything to his form. His form is fantastic, and if anything, I believe that the recklessness really that his crash represented, because he was descending and overtaking riders on a descent and at a moment in a race when it really didn't count.
It was like uncompetitive moment of the race, basically.
Yeah, but I think that shows you several things. Number one, this guy is a total killer. Number two, he's willing to take risks that other riders are not willing to take, not at the right moments, but when you take that same mindset and that same level of skill at critical moments of a race, he's going to be able to do things that others cannot. Think about was it the Pidcock Alpe d'Huez stage where he had the descent prior to it? That I don't remember when Pidcock had the descent that put him back into contention and he won a stage at the Tour. I feel like it was the Alpe d'Huez stage. Am I wrong?
That was up. He wasn't in the breakaway and he bridged across on the descent.
Yeah. So not only does Tom Pidcock put people through the moon door to see the man fly, he descends like that, which no one else is on that level. So I think that's the number two thing, and Big Rich Paul's success's favor. And number three, he just has the perfect cover. This is a no pressure situation now, as Spencer mentioned. So there were so many concerns about, like, what if this guy shows up and does a Thibaut Pinot and your Roman Bardet, where it's just like the pressure is too much and it's about panache and he implodes. That's not the kind of rider this guy is. He's cool as ice. You just put this man in a cryo chamber, freeze him like Han Solo and carbonite, and ship him off across the Dagobah system. He's ready to win.
You're right. You're right that he's not. There is this. It's almost like infantilization. I think that's how you say the word. I can't fucking say shit. So sorry if I mispronounce words, people. But it's like, oh, he's going to be overwhelmed. It's like, that's not really how he operates. He's a killer. I don't think he gets overwhelmed. That's why he's him and we're us. Like, we're not. I don't think we would do well as 19-year-olds at the Tour de France, but he seems like he's going to be fine. I'm very excited to see. I think Tadej Pogačar. I mean, we'll save it for the end. I have a feeling Pogačar might win. I'm very excited to see how Isaac Del Toro is going to do. I thought he looked really good at the Dauphiné. And I still am thunderstruck by Johan Bernal saying he thought that Del Toro was, because no one loves Jonas Vingegaard more than Johan Bernal. And he thought Del Toro was going to beat him at this Tour, which would be a big changing of the guard, because we've seen, it's the same two that are 1-2, Vingegaard and Pogačar, every year basically going back to when Vingegaard jumped onto the scene. So I do think we could see someone break that up, and I'm quite interested to see how Del Toro does. Another cool as a cucumber guy. He does not seem rattled by much.
Actually, I'm going to go. Well, first of all, you guys spoke. If your listeners haven't listened to the previous episode of Beyond the Peloton, I thought it was very good. A lot of insight. So 2, can you imagine if Paul Success wins
Oh my
and
gosh.
France wins the World Cup? I mean, they're going to lose their collective mind. Even if
Yeah.
France goes way deep into the draw.
Well, that would be crazy. It would be crazy, and it could happen. But would it actually be kind of a bummer? Because would the World Cup win overshadow?
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be a total eclipse of the heart. And
yeah.
if you're like me, you're not downloading Fubo or using Tibu or whatever on your television. So I'm going to go out and get the terrestrial antenna. I got a tip from someone on this podcast.
It's funny. Everybody in the UK, like literally every house has them, and people are just watching stuff for free. And you can do that in the US. We just culturally don't think to throw up the antenna.
Yeah, throw up the antenna. The movement starts here. It starts today. It starts with us.
And it's a cleaner picture, if I dare say. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, get the antenna up. So you're not watching the World Cup, Andrew? Because
I'm having problems accessing the content, and I refuse to subscribe to another service.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a little communist state over here, but they have everything's on free-to-air TV. I am kind of bummed that, an English journalist told me, he's like, the first game of the World Cup will get more viewers in the UK, and the UK there was no UK team playing, than the entire Tour de France will. Because, everyone watches it. It's on free-to-air TV, so everyone watches the World Cup. The World Cup is going to Big Brother this Tour de France. Like, even I'm going to be like, oh, the Tour. Like, I'll be like, got to get my work done so I can watch the World Cup. Like, I was just a little bummed out every 4 years when the World Cup shows up and reminds us where we stand.
Yes, I'm very much going to sound like the ugly American here. I'll go ahead and say it anyway. I watched the opening U.S. match, whenever that was, a week or two ago. And I'm glad that they have the replay now, but just all of the fake injuries just really detract from my enjoyment of the game. I know it's strategically a part of the sport, but it just seems like a joke to me when people are faking injuries constantly and the yellow cards are being reversed. It just seems like a farce.
You've just alienated half the audience here.
That's fine. I can have an opinion. Like,
I would say,
write something mean to me. I have cancer. Okay.
This is a cancer take. He gets it. We'll allow it. But here's a crazy stat. I would say they're running very fast. Like, if you're running that fast, sometimes it is nice to lay down for a minute. You need it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So this is a crazy. So we'll talk about GC in a second, but just in terms of stage wins, I don't think we need to go through. I know another podcast goes through every stage, and I'm like, stage 8 in the Limoges, who's going to win? I don't think that's relevant content because we don't know what the race situation is going to be or who's there, who's not there. We don't even have the full start list because they release it like 2 days before the race. But this is crazy. Over the last 4 years, 2 riders have won 30% of all stages. Do you want to guess who those 2 riders are? I couldn't believe that when I put it together. 30%.
It's
over the last 2 years.
For sure.
Yeah. Tadej.
Yeah.
Wait, you say last 2 years?
No, what'd you say?
I meant 4 years, if I said 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tadej's 1. That's easy. Do you want to guess the other one?
It's not Wout.
No, Wout van Aert has won 4 stages over the last 4 years, which is still very good.
Great question.
It's
that's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah, exactly. Jasper Philipsen, you don't really think about it this way, but he is an incredible Grand Tour sprinter. Like, knockdown Grand Tour sprinter. The guy cannot be stopped because you watch him. You're like, if you watch the Tour of Belgium, which is a great race, would recommend people watching that. All the best sprinters in the world are there. They each get 1 win. Like Biniam, Tim Merlier, Jasper Philipsen, Olaf Koy. So it's like, let's just say they're equal. Something happens when we get to the big moments where Philipsen he's unbeatable. It does help that he has Mathieu van der Poel as a leadout rider. We should say that. Probably helps that he has him as a spiritual guide as well, But just for these sprint stages, I go heavy on Phillips. At some point it will stop, but Philipsen, I have a feeling he's going to keep this rolling, and I have no explanation for how he's this good. Maybe the stages are faster, so people fatigue more, so he's maybe more fit. A guy who got second at Roubaix, is definitely a very good racer in general, so maybe that helps him, but I don't have any, like, clear e answers on why this happens, but Philipsen's gonna rise to the occasion. Also, Olav Koy is racing for Decathlon, who also has Big Rich Paul Success. Paul Success. I don't even know if we've said his correct name in this podcast, but so that will take some of the heat off Paul. And like I know someone inside the sport that's very confused about why they have a sprinter and a GC guy who's maybe going to be one of the best GC guys in the sport. But I like it because it takes heat off of Paul. Maybe you forget about him for the first few stages. But who do you guys think is going to win the most stages at this race? You go first, Jonathan.
Oh man, that's a tough question.
You don't have to be right. You can be wrong.
Yeah, I know.
There's no pressure.
Tadej. I'll just go with Tadej.
Tadej, that's a good answer because he could win. I mean, if with the summit finishes, he could win 6 stages again. If he's on the form everyone says he's on.
Can we just divert for 1 second? Because I know in the previous episode you guys spoke about Juan Ayuso, and there's a big profile of Juan Ayuso in The Athletic, and you talked about how he's at The Athletic is part of the New York Times.
I'm making a joke.
The new sports section.
Making a joke. Yeah.
Oh, you're okay. So, you guys said his head case. I think everyone knows that. Not exactly. You got not a great reputation. He complains about that in the story, but also he said he's reading this book. I never heard of it, but we all know the genre. By Jim Murphy, Inner Excellence, Train Your Mind for Extraordinary Performance.
Okay. This is what Juan Ayuso says he's reading?
Yeah.
That's great. Man, he should also have a high performance staff that's working with him constantly, I would think.
Well, to be serious for a second,
I'm being serious about that. Like he should, right?
And that's something I wonder that's being a little, there's a lot of turbulence at his team. The team is a very wealthy team, Lidl-Trek. Like Lidl's a massive company who now owns the team. Just a lot of like managerial turnover. And probably I think Andy Schleck technically is in charge now, but Andy Schleck is not, an experienced operator at this level. It's going to take him a while to get his feet under him. And then the guy that's running the team, like the performance side of the team, Gershon Nierman, works for another team currently, Visma. So actually, I do kind of wonder if they don't have that as buttoned up as another team might. And that's an example of maybe why it is important to, the team you go to is incredibly important, not just the bikes or how they perform on the road, but like how the back room is set up and how stable it is. And I would bet Lidl-Trek is not the most stable environment at the moment.
Yeah. And again, everyone out there has some kind of job. And if you've ever been at a company where you have high turnover and I don't know, let's say, for example, you end up reporting to 4 or 5 people.
Oh, it's morale.
Who are in the same role who keep going through the moon door. It's just so confusing. Your KPIs change, your strategy changes, you're getting decked to death. We know that at Lidl-Trek, the strategy remains the same. Although, now that we're on the topic of Lidl-Trek, I'm going to turn the tables here. I have a bit of a quiz for you all. When we take a look at the composition of this team, we have Juan Ayuso. We also, of course, know that Ciccone is a formidable GC rider. If Ayuso, is this going to be the road decides situation? This is a multi-part question, so you might want to jot these down. Do we see an Ayuso explosion and Ciccone taking over in the GC role, which then will transition into Ciccone chasing stage wins because he's not going to win the tour? That's number one. Number two, when we look at the support riders, we know that 2 of these riders have the stated ambition of winning stages. That's Mads Pedersen and Quinn Simmons. How does that fit into an underdog disruptor team trying to win the GC? And are those riders you would have brought to this tour knowing that they're more or less team all about me riders? I'll take your answers.
I'll take your answers off air. Well, I don't think Ciccone is gone. I think Ciccone is the GC dream is gone. I think he's 31. He's never top 10 in a Grand Tour. He just won the mountain classification at the Giro. Didn't win a stage. I think for Ciccone, success is stage win and KOM. If he can He won the KOM in 2023. Like, I think for him, that's success. I don't think he's going to go for the GC. In fact, GC hurts him because then he can't get on the breakaways he needs to get the KOM points or to try to win a stage because he's not going to win from the GC group. I can guarantee you that. I think Lidl-Trek, other than the team being a mess and no one probably really thinking about it this hard, I think they kind of know they're not going to win the overall. I think with Ayuso, it's if he can do pretty good, go out there and just do your best, and we're happy with you. I think that's kind of the situation there. And Mads Pedersen, I mean, there's probably just not a lot of cohesion, right? Mads Pedersen's probably thinking, I want Mads Pedersen to win a lot of stages of this race. Quinn Simmons is probably thinking, I want Quinn Simmons to win a lot of stages of this race. Mads Pedersen's probably also trying to win the points jersey. There's a lot of cooks in this kitchen now that I'm talking about it. I think it's going to be messy, but Mads Pedersen is so good that I think he could win multiple stages and the points jersey. In fact, he would be my favorite to win the points jersey. Jonathan.
Okay. Yeah, Jonathan.
They won't win the GC, and they might not even be in contention by the third week.
I'm sorry. The question is, will the road decide at Lidl-Trek?
Jonathan, I'm gonna give you a new question because I didn't see you. You didn't have a pen out. I don't think you wrote this down. Let me ask you my next question.
I was taking notes.
All right.
Actually,
For some reason, Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe has 11 riders listed on their. I guess this is their preliminaries. Yeah, the long list is kind of weird. We know that the primary protagonists there will be Remco Evenepoel and Florian Lipowitz. On what stage does Remco completely implode and give up his GC ambitions?
Great question. All right, you go first, Jonathan.
No, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say these guys who are head cases, Ayuso, Remco. I thought about this. I think they're in for the long haul. I think they're gonna do quite well this year.
What stage does he implode?
He's not going to.
Okay. All right. So you think he becomes the captain and Lipowitz supports him?
Well, I didn't say that. I just said he's gonna,
okay. All right.
He's going to finish because Daniel Benson wrote about this exact issue with Bora. I didn't read it because I didn't want to be, swayed one way or another. But it's just like you look at those the three names, you're like, what the hell are they doing?
All right.
I got a zag here though. I like what they're doing. Chaos. Why not throw spaghetti at the wall? Pogačar's going to win anyway, so who gives a shit? Lipowitz is freaking flying right now, by the way. Oh my, did you guys see him in Slovenia? Holy smokes. Lipowitz is looking ready to defend. He got third last year. Unfortunately, Oscar Onley, who got fourth, is not starting with a shoulder injury sustained at the Dauphiné. Remco will implode on stage 6 on the Tourmalet. Put it in writing. That's going to happen.
Okay.
But the thing about Jonathan mentions head cases, and I do have a hard out in 4 minutes. So this is not an ideal time to launch into this, but I feel like some of these athletes, they're almost being cloaked with head case, like the designation of head case. Juan Ayuso, Remco Evenepoel, they might just have weaknesses that get exploited at times. Like they might. I wonder if Remco just is not a great like big mountain climber. And that's where the struggles come from. Same thing with Coco Gauff. It was just, I was like, why is Coco Gauff so inconsistent? And Jonathan's like, oh, she's a head case. But then I was looking at her results and I was kind of looking at other tennis players that have had those results. And it's like, she might be achieving the best that she can achieve. And she has flaws as a player that get exploited at times. And that's kind of what I think about Remco and Ayuso. I think they're naturally maybe not amazing climbers. Everything has to go right for them to climb well. And sometimes it works out, but they can't. I mean, I say this all the time, but like you could wake Jonas Vingegaard up at 2 a.m. in January and say like, go right up to us right now. And he'd do very good at it. He just anytime, anywhere. And I don't think those guys are anytime, anywhere climbers. And it just is hard to compete like that.
All right. Here's the speed round, given the hard out that's coming up shortly.
I'll get in trouble.
Let's talk about sleeper cells. We have some of the known quantities who we believe will win stages. Who goes in the unexpected category that you think might pull a rabbit out of the hat and win a stage that someone other than the usual suspects? Who have you got?
You go first, Jonathan.
Not the overall, just a stage?
Just a
stage. Are you buying time, Jonathan?
No. All right, I'm going to go with Quinn Simmons.
Okay.
I'd say, okay. That's
like
good.
It.
Spencer?
I don't even know why I'm saying this. Warren Barguil. I could see it happen.
All right.
All right.
The magic.
I like it.
I mean, he was trying hard at the Giro. Those Giro miles are going to pay off, and as we know from Visma, that's the best way to prepare for the Tour de France, apparently. I am quite curious to see how Uno X does. I would keep an eye on them for.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, they kind of they got sixth here, and the crazy thing about Uno X is they can get these GC results and contest stages, and you don't like the GC situation doesn't take away that much from the stage wins, so that's pretty interesting. But who do you guys think is going to win this race?
Well, I want to share my sleeper cell takes first. Okay, so these are I'll put these in the unexpected category. Is Benyam Girmay racing? I don't even know.
Yeah, and he's actually he's on form right now.
He's on form,
right,
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going Benyam Girmay. I believe Ben O'Connor is going to win a stage.
That's a good one.
I'm being serious.
That's seriously a very good pick.
Yeah, he'll win a stage. And also, we're talking about people being head cases and fragile. Let's just be clear. They are in the epoch of cycling with the most undefeatable set of riders that are the most freakishly genetically gifted ever in the history of humankind. And in another era, they would be winning the Tour. And you have to imagine how frustrating that is to be, hey, I can be like a top 7 or top 4 rider. I can never win this race. And I think Ben O'Connor is one of those riders, and I think he has to win a stage to save it's always like the season saver, right?
Won the Queen stage last year. He can do it.
Yeah. So Ben O'Connor, and then I'm also going to go with Brandon McNulty. And
I like it.
Yeah. And sorry, I know we're out of time. I've got to get one more pick in here. I'm looking for the Net Company Ineos roster. I'm going to go with Ghana.
Oh, I would love to see that. Not a time trial win.
Yeah. I mean we know how much effort he's put into like Milan San Remo. He's dropped all this weight. Let's see what Top Ghana puts out and whether he's a goose or a maverick.
What do you guys think? Now I'm like seeing this everywhere. Tymon Arnsman's doing this race. He did the Giro. This is the trend now. What do you guys think Mathieu van der Poel's going to do at this race? Does he care?
Oh, I wanted to come back to this topic because you said Philipsen in the last 4 years he's one of the 2 riders who've won the most stages, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. The answer, why does he have such a hot hand? He has frickin' Mathieu van der Poel as his lead-out man. I mean, the best lead-out man in the entire world. And not only that, he has Caden Groves, who's a world-class sprinter who can win stages at Grand Tours. So he has...
Who won a stage of the Tour last year after Philipsen crashed out.
Yeah. He has the best lead-out train in the world, and they're completely unified, and there's humility, right? I mean, we saw Pog kind of put Jonathan Narvaez in the position to win that stage recently, but this is something that Mathieu van der Poel just does every July, is very graciously and humbly ensures that Jasper Philipsen gets to win more stages than anyone else, which he doesn't have to do.
Nope. I mean, Lidl-Trek, they don't race their 2 sprinters together. Alpecin races 3, and they do better than anyone. So go figure. I wonder why they're so good. I would like to see Van der Poel make a go at the points jersey, but I still don't believe he had pneumonia last year. I think he just wanted to go home.
He wants to win the mountain bike world championship this year as well. So let's see how long he sticks around in this race.
He might not finish this race. Who's going to win? Jonathan, who's your pick to win the overall?
I'll give you top 3, pretty predictable. Tadej, Del Toro, Jonas. My outlier without Derek G. West in the race. I'll go with Juan Ayuso.
Okay.
I'm persuaded by that article.
Here, I'm going to go, and then Andrew's going to go because he can have the most interesting one. Tadej, Del Toro. And just because I'm feeling crazy, Florian Lipowitz, 3rd. Jonas, 4th. Too much fatigue from the Giro. I know that's not in trend to think anymore, but I think it's not a slam dunk. What do you think, Andrew?
Big Rich Paul success wins. Tadej is 2nd. I like Lipowitz in 3rd and Jonas in 4th.
Love it. Man, that would be wild.
First Jewish rider on the podium.
Well, do you want to make it a public appeal here? Or
Florian or the team, if I would like to know, is Florian Lipowitz Jewish?
Yeah, hit us up if you are Florian Lipowitz or his rabbi and can confirm if he's Jewish. It's very important to Jonathan.
Even if you don't have one.
Jonathan will be your rabbi, Florian, if you're interested. But thank you guys. And the race starts on Saturday. It's on Peacock in the U.S. If you're not in the U.S., it's probably on HBO Max. But are you guys excited to watch it on Peacock? We'll all be as well after the stage.
I was going to write about that. Not really, not particularly.
Let the road decide. Let the road decide.
We'll let the road decide. I don't know how much I can say on that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sail high seas on this one because you might get better coverage. I mean, do you guys here? The last question: do you guys need American announcers or no?
No.
I mean, it adds nothing. I don't need that.
Well, I think Spencer, going back to a point that you made, that one World Cup game or whatever, one day of the World Cup eclipses the total viewership of the Tour de France. I think let's just give up the illusion that this has some kind of broad mainstream appeal. As we explained over on Tour de France for beginners, if you don't follow this sport extremely closely for a long period of time, you're going to be like my dad, who's tried to watch this race with me for, 38 years, asking me, what's the guy in the green jersey doing? Why is this the finish? You know what I mean? And let's just let's make this for the core, because that's who actually watches this event. And I know people will say, but that's not true. But even if you make it more core and less John Tesh, I don't think that you're going to diminish the broader appeal of the event.
I totally agree.
Well, who is a pretty core broadcast? It's F1. That's not like, there is some dumbing down, but it gets Martin Brundle. Like, we get Martin Brundle in the U.S. He's like an expert on F1. We don't have like two Americans doing so they're going around in a circle, which is not straight. They don't spoon feed it to you.
Yeah. Just as an aside, I have a client I work with who just interviewed Lando Norris at Cannes, and it was quite interesting. I can't disclose who the client is, but it was really interesting to interface with and prepare for this work with the McLaren team and Lando. And I think that is a perfect example of people want to be taken inside this super high performance world. And who are the best people to take you in there? Is it Hooked on Phonics, or is it the world's leading experts? It's the world's leading experts. That's who you want to hear talk about it.
And I mean, we're seeing this at the World Cup right now. And, I was in an event at Politics and Pros where everything in Washington happens. But Franklin Foer, who I had on the podcast, I think 2 weeks ago, made this point that we don't need Alexi Lalas. Like, that's corporate America's view of how dumb the audience is. We need Rebecca Lowe and Henri Thierry. I mean, that guy's fantastic. The Swedish guy could do without. I mean, he's
the
kind
Swedish
of ridiculous.
Guy. He's like one of the best players of all time.
Well, his whole shtick is kind of Matt's my favorite Swede. One of them.
You could
Raul Wallenberg, Borg, Mats Wielander, Stefan Edberg, and
Next
Kurt
week.
Wallander.
Next week's episode, Jonathan's favorite Swedes, in depth. But yeah, you could imagine an executive being like, nobody wants Henri. We can't even understand what he's saying. Get him off
He's
here.
So good. He's so good.
Yeah, he is very good. Yep. And he just kind of doesn't spoon feed it. He's just very good at explaining things. But thank you guys so much. And Andrew, we'll try to be podcasting more regularly during this tour if we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm excited to watch it. Everybody, have a great time. Thanks for joining us today.